Greetings. This is Arvat and McClaine with Speak, the Universe Listens. As a very young person, I always felt that I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, having to make grown-up decisions in order to survive a life marked by physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. While my face was smiling on the outside, on the inside I was secretly crying and miserable. However, over the years, I learned some gems that helped to turn my life around. I now get to live the life of my dreams, filled with love, travel, and wonderment. And I am absolutely passionate about sharing what I have learned with you. If you want to live your best life, tune in each week as I, along with some awesome guests, share these life-changing gems with you. Inspired to be more, do more, have more. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to our all-new Speak, the Universe Listens. First of all, I want to take a moment just to wish Diana success and happiness in all of your new endeavors. We are so happy for you, and I just want you to know, Diana, that the whole community of Speak, the Universe Listen is missing you.
Definitely.
So what I want to do is to continue to bring inspiring information and tools that you can use to help create the type of life that you would love to live. And what I want to do is invite guests on to share their unique experiences and any type of information that they can add that might be able to just provide a different way of seeing things. So our first guest is Scott McClaine, and Scott McClaine is the owner of Lifelong Realty, and he is also a facilitator of A Course in Miracles study group. Scott obviously is he's a husband and a father, and he is also my brother. So I'm so happy to have you here today, Scott.
I'm honored to be here.
Terrific. So I really want to tell you all that I actually booked Scott to come on the episode back in November. Mind you, I had no idea that we were changing formats. And when I tell you that there's no person that I would rather have as my first guest on this new episode, on this new Speak the Universe Listens, than my brother Scott, I mean it. And so I booked him back in November for today, the taping of the first episode, having no idea that this was actually going to happen.
The universe supplies.
Exactly.
Even when you don't speak sometimes.
Right. I didn't speak it, but the universe supplied it. So today's topic is inner guidance. So talk to us a little bit about inner guidance, Scott.
So inner guidance, that's that voice that we have inside of ourselves that helps to guide us in the right direction. Is always there, is always speaking to us to help us to take easier steps, to have our process be more successful. So it's always there, whether we're listening to it or not.
Right. So yeah, that's one thing that I really had to learn how to hear, because really all my life, it's been active because I've been aware of it ever since I was a little person, like a child. And then I stopped listening to it for a long portion of my life. Even though, like in hindsight, I could realize that it still was there, but I wasn't like consciously aware of it. And then it wasn't until I got, much older, then I started like, okay, I can hear you, and actually paying attention. And when I listen to my inner guidance, life just becomes easy.
Yeah. And it's always the case when you're listening to it. In the Course of Miracles, it talks about if we're making decisions by ourselves, chances are it's going to be the wrong decision. But when we're making decisions with Spirit, then success is guaranteed.
Okay.
So to just to take the time to listen to that guidance is a powerful gift.
So a lot of times people are saying, well, what am I listening to? What is it that I'm listening for?
And ultimately, it is listening to something other than your voice, other than your thoughts, rather. And sometimes it's a voice, sometimes it's a feeling, sometimes it's just a knowing, there's a certain energy that comes along. But the blockage that we all have, when there is a blockage, rather, is because we're too busy thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We're too busy talking to ourselves and creating stories, trying to say, all right, I'm smart enough where I can come up with the best game plan, and we're putting our plans into place.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're thinking so much, we're blocking out the voice of our guidance.
Exactly. So I think like a lot of times when we think there's a way to do something, we might come up with like one way to get something done or a couple of ways to get something done. But our inner guidance is really what's the connection that we have to the source of all that is. So everything in the whole, I don't even know, whatever's bigger than the universe, everything into infinity is to the disposal of our inner guidance. And so a lot of times we think we have to do things a certain way, a logical way, but really our inner guidance has the ability to pull from all the field of everything
Mm-hmm.
and come up with a way for us to get anything that we want.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's better than what we would have. I mean, most of the time.
Definitely.
And as you were saying that, I'll flash back to this like amazing book where somebody was talking about, the author was talking about this guy that was running from all these people, right? And he ran into this cave and was like, praying that that he could be safe. And so the guys were right outside. And you can, of course, take the story and say it better. Since you're the author of it. An amazing book. And so as he's in this cave thinking, well, hopefully these guys won't see me, just looking for him. And the spider puts a web up over. He was like, can you give me something else? I don't want just a spider web. I want a rock or something older. And so the guys look over and they see this spider web, so there's no way he could be in here. And so they keep going. And so fortunately for him, it was a spider web. He could break the spider web, he could get out, but if it was a big boulder, he would stop, right?
True.
And so fortunately for him that time, he was able to speak saying, I want to be safe. And he at least followed that guidance enough to go in the cave. From that point, that guidance often just give us that one step. So it gave him that step to go in the cave and to stay there. It didn't give him anything else yet. And so he started putting his own imaginations in front of him. That's my version of it. That's not what was in the amazing book. But he started putting his own versions and limitations on how things could happen. But because it's just all unlimited, when you're operating from a place of spirit, connecting to spirit, it's all unlimited. So that's that guidance we really should listen to, because they can find ways of doing things, accomplishing things that we could never come up with.
Exactly. And one thing that I learned recently, like within the past year, is I never really understood what a dream was per se. So I think I was confusing goals and dreams. And so I was encouraged to dream. And with the distinction that, the person who was doing this made was that a dream is something that you couldn't accomplish on your own. Like, you don't know how to do this.
Okay,
So goal, you pretty much know the steps to take to accomplish a goal. But for a dream, it's like, just don't really know how to do it. And I was thinking, well, I don't have any dreams because I think I know how to do everything. But when I realized a true dream, what it caused me to do is to rely on something other than me, because I don't know how to get it done. And so in that reliance, I have to take only one step at a time, because that's the only part of the plan I know is the one step that was revealed to me. So I take the one step, and then another step is revealed, and I take the next step. And that is the way you get to a dream. And your dream is always going to be something that makes you more aware of who you really are.
So it makes you more aware of who you really are. because it's that big, it becomes like that.
Because the dream is big. It's something that the you that you probably think of who you are to be, you can't do this on your own. So it causes you to tap into something.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And so as you're tapping, it causes you to remember, like, okay, I have access to the source of all that is. It keeps calling your attention back to that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And it's, so by doing that, it helps you to stay in that awareness of it. And so even when you're not in that place of having a big dream, you can begin to train yourself to be more aware. And to begin to listen to that voice. But it takes quieting down your inner thoughts. Whatever means is best for you to quiet your thoughts. And I think that's always the first piece, so we have to quiet our thoughts so that we can hear that. And some people would think of that from a standpoint of meditating. And so if you're meditating, and a lot of people say, meditating, you sit there with your legs crossed and whatever, floating or whatever. And that turns off a lot of people thinking about meditation from that perspective. However, there's other ways to quiet your thoughts. And for me, it's going out there jogging, being able to go for a run quiets my thoughts. And at the beginning for myself, it's like I have all these thoughts. It's like thoughts coming from somewhere everywhere. And after about 15 minutes or so, my thoughts kind of quiet down. And so then I'm at that place where I can hear spirit a little bit better. But it's different things different people can do. It could be walking meditations. It could be just sitting out in the park. It could be just taking a moment before you make a decision and just detach yourself from the results. And allow that guidance to come in.
Yeah. No, I do. I get the guidance in all those ways you say. So a lot of times I get the most guidance is when I'm at the park, walking in nature, in solitude, purposefully quieting my mind. And then I'll just get all these amazing ideas. They just start flowing in my mind, and I never have anything with me to write this stuff down, but I'm just like so excited about the ideas that come through. So they usually come through for me like when I'm like in nature, being quiet, when maybe like first thing as soon as I wake up in the mornings, or like right before I fall asleep, and sometimes like other kind of solitude types of exercise. So perhaps if I'm riding a bike, like for me, if I'm riding a bike in an event, like let's say, I don't really do bike racing, but I do like to finish in a certain amount of time, so I have to keep my speed up when I'm going. But a lot of times, like the bike can lull me into a meditative state. And so I can kind of like come out of it and I'm like barely pedaling. And so I have to consciously say, pedal! Pedal! But yeah, so it's during those times when I get like those big hits of inspiration.
Yeah. And and a lot of times people aren't necessarily taking the time to just be still. You're moving, mentally you're still. But just the more you do it, the easier it becomes to be aware of that extra voice, aware of that guidance. And that's the key piece. You want to get to a place where you can be aware of that guidance, because it's always there. And so the more awareness you can have, the easier it is for you to navigate with it.
Yeah, I had, like I said, I had gotten out of, conscious communication with my inner guidance. And the way I came back to it is actually because I used to go to Old Dominion University. And so Old Dominion was in, Old Dominion itself is in Norfolk, but my satellite location was in Virginia Beach. And so that's like a 2-hour drive from my house to the school. And in the summertime, it was like 3 or 4 hours because the traffic was so bad. But what happened for me, the way I started listening to my inner guidance is I had gotten this urge. Like, I was just like, I don't want to go to school today. And the reason why that's so strange is because I never operate on, do I want to do something? It was always, if this is what I'm to do, I'm going to do it. There's no question. I'm going to school. So I remember getting that hit, like, I don't want to go to school today. And I'm just like, what? Like, why am I thinking like that? So anyway, I went to school, or I tried to get to school, but I never made it to school that day because a tractor trailer had flipped over on the highway. And so we were stranded. We're just stranded on the highway for hours and hours with just nothing we could do. So I never made it to school that day. And then another day, I had another urge, like, I don't want to go to school today. And I'm just like, what is going on with this? And so I go to school anyway, and I get there, and it's a bomb threat. And so I couldn't even go to class that day. And then a third time, I got the hit again, like, I don't feel like going to school. And this time I get there, and the professor doesn't show up. And so I was like, wow, 3 times I got this urge to not go, and then I couldn't make it, or I didn't have class anyway. And so I said, every time I get this feeling like I don't want to go to school, then I'm not going to go and see what happens. And I did that for the duration of my time at Old Dominion, and I never once missed a class due to not going to class. There was always some reason why class didn't occur that day anyway.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
And so that's what made me say, you know what, I need to pay attention when I'm getting these feelings. And so back then it wasn't necessarily, like sometimes I feel like I can hear a voice, or I don't know if I'm hearing a voice or if I'm interpreting something, but sometimes it's very clear, or I get an impression in my mind like, this is a great idea. But during that time, it was more like I said, it was coming through like, oh, I don't feel like going to school today.
Right. Right. And sometimes it's a voice, but sometimes it's a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes some practice per se to begin to understand it. Yet, I don't feel like going to school today. It was a chance I was coming to you from a feeling perspective. It was just like, don't go. And, it's interesting, that you were aware of it enough that, you were able to begin to say, all right, when this happens, this is how I'm going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I would imagine that we've all had certain experiences like that where, we had this thought, this feeling, this energy that just kind of comes over us about a certain thing, and we wonder, where's this coming from? Where's this coming from? Well, sometimes we might ignore it, sometimes we follow through, but if we ignore it, we find that same scenario where, I shouldn't have ignored it.
Right. It cost me 4 hours of my life. I was there and back for no reason.
If you're aware of it, the easier it is to be, to distinguish whether it's your thoughts or it's the thoughts of the inner guidance.
So how can you set yourself up to start receiving this type of guidance? I know you already mentioned about being still, quieting your thoughts.
Yeah, that's definitely the first step. Well, the first step is choosing it.
Right.
It's always there, so if we choose it, and then to, like I say, to quiet your thoughts, whatever means it takes to quiet your thoughts. And I know I've heard some people say along the way that their thoughts are quiet when they're watching TV. But for me, watching TV, I feel like maybe my thoughts are quiet, but I got the director's thoughts instead.
Exactly.
And so I'm still not able to get that guidance when I'm watching TV. So quiet your thoughts. And as your thoughts stop, as you're turning off whatever other outside pieces that are affecting your thoughts, you'll find that there's this still peace that's always there. And spend time listening to it. As you begin to listen to it more frequently, you'll find that it's there more frequently. So just turn off all the thoughts. I mean, I don't know if I can say it any clearer than that.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You got to be quiet in order to hear. being quiet, being still in your mind. Oh, first, like you said, first choosing or making a decision that I would like to hear in my inner guidance, and then taking the time to still your thoughts, taking the time to be quiet, kind of disconnect from television, radio, all the distractions that we have. And I think also one thing you mentioned is kind of like developing a relationship with it.
Yes.
Like being able to, when you hear it, being able to recognize it. And just like with anybody, if you're developing a relationship with them, you're going to take the time to get to know them, listen to what they're saying. You might even take their suggestions sometimes. Because obviously, if I keep making a suggestion to you and you never pay attention to what I'm saying, then I'm not going to keep giving you a suggestion. And so, same thing with the guidance. Like you say, the guidance will always be there, but if you pay attention to it, you're going to hear it much more loudly and much more clearly.
Another thing that's kind of coming to mind as you're talking right now is that sometimes we're almost like married to our plan. I came up with a plan, I want to stick with this plan. And so this guidance is telling me something that's not in my plan. I don't want to hear that. I'm going to do my plan. And then we wonder why we hit some challenges along the way. So sometimes we might not listen to their guidance because we don't feel like that's the best, like I know better than what the guidance knows. But still be aware of it, even if you're choosing not to take that, be aware of it. And so see what the results are. See what the results are. But then that again is part of being, connecting to that awareness. So was that actual guidance? And how did that feel? What was the energy like with that? And so as you were saying, as you're studying, as you're getting to know it, you're building that relationship with it, you can begin to rely on it a lot more completely.
So thank you so much for sharing this with us today. So again, make the decision that you want to tap into your inner guidance, because your inner guidance is the place where where you can really connect to the source of all it is, open to the field of possibilities, and it can help you lead a easier life because it knows how to bring the pieces together. Yes. So make the decision to do so, and then make sure you take the time to quiet your mind and start building a relationship with your inner guidance. So thank you so much for coming on the show today and for being our very first guest on our new Speak the Universe listeners. And you guys, please click the subscribe button and also make comments in the comment section. So until next time, this is Arvat and I'm here with Scott. Bye.